Good morning, dear Stitchers. This is Judy Whitman with JBW Designs, and this is my Flosstube number 45. I want to welcome you to my office studio today. It's a beautiful sunny day out there. I hope to get outside at least to eat lunch. So I have a funny story to tell you today. First of all, I want to welcome you. I better do that first. Thank you for subscribing, for watching, for making such wonderful comments. I read them all each week and try to respond to them, and I'm so appreciative of the time that you take to write to me, not only on the Flosstube, but also in emails. So the title of my video today was going to be Sampler September, but I had to add this little story to the whole video, and that is about a mysterious flying object. So this has to do with a life update. I will tell you the story quickly, but there are a couple of very funny segments that go with it. So my husband and I were on Wednesday, we were at our granddaughter Ellie's first volleyball game of the season. And we try to go to the kids' games if we possibly can. It's fun to see them in action. So we were sitting fairly close to the floor. It was a fairly small gym. And the girls to my left were practicing. And all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, and at this point, I'm not looking that way. I'm actually have my head turned to the right because I'm talking to my grandson Tristan on the right. And so all of a sudden, a girl spikes a ball, and it doesn't, she's practicing, it doesn't go over the net, it comes flying and it hits me right here in the chest. And it was so hard, and it took my breath away. When something like that happens, you're shocked because you don't see it coming. I think I probably gasped, and I thought, oh dear, how could this happen to me? So anyhow, I was okay through the game, but by the time I got home, I could just feel that there were certain motions that were so painful. So I decided and sleeping was so hard, getting in and out of bed. So the next morning I called the doctor's office just to see what they thought, if they needed to see me. And they couldn't get me in for an appointment, but they talked to the doctor and they wanted me to have a chest x-ray. So I went to urgent care, and of course when you do that, you're there for hours, but I had the nicest people that were nurses that were helping out. So here's the funny part of the story. Trying to explain to somebody what happened to you sounds so goofy. So the first nurse comes in and she's listening to my description of what happened, and she looks at me and she said, "Oh, I just think it's marvelous that you're playing volleyball." And I kind of laughed and I said, "Oh no, I wasn't playing volleyball. I was just sitting in the stands." So that was the first kind of funny comment that occurred. And then a little while later, another nurse came in to draw blood, and I was chatting with her, and I said to her, well, the first nurse that came in thought I was playing volleyball. And I really wasn't. And she said, "I have a funny story to tell you." So it turns out that a third nurse who had come in to talk to me, a nice young man, told somebody out in the not the lobby, but in their work area, that I had been hit by a bowling ball, which just cracked us up. I said, "Oh my gosh, if I'd been hit by a bowling ball, I'd be dead by now." So anyhow, they didn't find anything broken. That's the good news. I'm doing fine. I'm taking Motrin, and I wear a pain patch at night to help with the discomfort. So anyhow, that's my mysterious flying object story for today. So let's see, what do I want to talk to you about? First of all, I want to tell you about Expo, because the last time that you saw me, probably, I was getting ready to exhibit at the wholesale market called Needlework Expo, which in this case is a virtual show. And it lasted, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And I did just really well. I was just so pleased. I talked to quite a few shop owners, one from Amsterdam, one from Australia, which is just such a treat. And it was a great show. I had many orders to pack. The good news is I finished that part of it. So the next thing that I'm getting ready for is, and I won't be attending, but I want to tell you about it. So there is, and I will write all this information in the notes below. There is a retail needlework market, and many of you probably know about it, but some of you might not, that is actually an in-person trade show for the public. And it is held at the end of September this year. It's called Needlework Galleria. It's put on by Kathy of the Inspired Needle, which is a shop down in Illinois. And she does a wonderful job. And so if you can picture, I think I've told you about the Nashville trade show, where there is all of the vendors are each in a different room around the floor, and the shoppers go room to room. Well, this show is the same thing on a smaller scale. So I think there are about 30 to 40 vendors, which means designers, fabric dyers, floss people, framers, all kinds of wonderful cross-stitch related items are at this show. And it is just so much fun. The shoppers come into our rooms, they look at our display, and they pick out things that they want. I am not able to, all right, let me backtrack on this. I am exhibiting this year with the help of my assistant, Dawn, but I will not be there in person. My products will be there, but we have several events coming up in the next few weeks, a trip and friends coming from out of town, so I was not able to participate in person in Galleria, but I'm busy packing for it. So I'm packing books and kits and all of that kind of thing. And Dawn's going to be setting up the room. So we're working together to figure that out. Dawn, incidentally, is a designer also, and her company is called The Mindful Needle. So you'll have to check her out. She's a brand new designer. She started about a year ago. So let me tell you the dates. So it starts on September 29th, which is a Thursday, I believe. I'll double check that. And that night it's open from 6 to 9, which is they consider early bird shopping. A lot of people love coming that first night. They don't want to miss out on anything. But the show also is open all day Friday from 10 to 5 and all day Saturday, October 1st from 10 to 5. It's in St. Charles, Missouri, which is just outside of St. Louis. It is a charming town. It's so much fun to go there. The town itself is historical. It has brick streets, wonderful old storefronts, and the event is held at the Embassy Suites in St. Charles. If their rooms are already booked, which I'm sure they are, there are many other hotels in the area that you could choose if you decide you want to go. I hope you'll get a group together and attend. So I have, that's the end of my show information. I have a couple of pieces of mail that I wanted to share with you, and then we'll get right into a couple other things, and then we'll get right into Sampler September. So the first thing I want to show you are these beautiful pins. And I'm going to open, let's see if I can open this bag quietly here. There we go. So these are made by Teresa with Jersey Girl Stitch Company. And I meant to get out one of my models because I was going to put them in to show you what they look like. But they come in all kinds of color combinations. They just do the most beautiful job. Here's another one. I should have taken it out of the bag, which is a beautiful red and gold and crystal. And this is the one, I've got a little model called Be Merry that's a drum, and I want to make sure I put these pins in that drum. So I'll have to remember to show you that next time. And then I want to tell you, let's see. So she is on Instagram at Jersey Girl Stitch Co for company. Her website is jerseygirlstitchco.com. So please check her out, and thank you so much, Teresa, for your nice note and for sending some samples for me to share with our viewers. All right, the next mail topic has to do with something that came back just a few days ago. it's always amazing to me when I look at the postmark and I go, oh my gosh, this took so long to come back. But this was mailed on August 8th, and it was mailed to Joyce Andrews, who is one of my viewers, and she won a prize, and she lives in Alberta, Canada. And Joyce, if you're watching this time, I'll keep my fingers crossed that you are. This was returned to me, and it looks like I had the wrong postal code for you, or they couldn't read my handwriting. So I hope you'll contact me, let me know what the postal code is, and I will definitely remail that. So let's see, I have a couple of other quick things to show you. So in the last video, I talked to you about products that I had seen at Hobby Lobby that I thought would work well for a number of designs that you might be working on. And I love this piece because if you look at it, I took a picture of it, but you couldn't really see what it looked like. It's actually an easel. So it can sit on a table. You could do one of the round designs on this piece. You know, I've got all kinds of Halloween designs, which I'll show you in the next video, that would look darling. So that is, let's see what department it's in. It's in their Shut the Door collection, and I will put the product number in my notes below. So let me set that aside. And then the second product that I had picked up, which I thought had great possibilities, was this table decor. It's from the Say Grace collection. And I forgot to bring my book over, but I have a new design called O'er the Fields, which is long and horizontal. And I thought how nice that would look in this kind of a tray or any horizontal design, and it too could sit on a shelf. So those were two products that I wanted to share with you. All right, now we come, I'm sorry it's taking me so long to get to the meat of the whole production here, but you'll bear with me, right? So also in the last video, I had a question from one of our viewers, and I had shown kind of the steps, and you might, if you're interested in learning some finishing tips, I would go back to maybe video number 44 and possibly 42. You'll have to look at the titles to show you finishing steps. And at the time, I had the two pieces. I was restitching a little model for Rabbits in the Round, and I had told everyone that I had put cording around the edges. So the viewer who wrote, and I forgot to write down your name, I'm sorry I didn't do that, said, where do you buy cording? Well, as most of you know, cording is almost impossible to find. You can find it in white, you can find it maybe in black, but certainly not in colors to match your design. So I'm going to give you some little tips today on how to make cording by yourself on your own. It's very easy. The finished product is absolutely fabulous. This is what it looks like before I attach it to my piece. And I use a tool that looks like this. It's made by Kreinik, and they package it beautifully. They have a wonderful set of directions with it. I think their name for it is a mini cording drill. I'll look that up to make sure I have the right name. But it's just, it looks like a toy. It's a little tiny plastic drill with a hook. I'm trying to get it so that you can see it on the end of it. And basically what you're going to do, I'll give you a kind of a quick description, is that you can start with any fiber. Usually I use floss. You can use metallics and do a 2-color cording, which is gorgeous for Christmas ornaments. But you start with 6-ply of floss, just, not twisted, just flat as can be. And you can make different thicknesses by continuing to add more strands of floss. The thing that you have to know is that you have to start with 3 times the length of what you need for your finished product. So let's just estimate that I needed, let's say 12 inches to do this round piece and also the cording or the little hanger at the top. So I would start out with 36 inches of floss. And as I say, I experiment probably, to get the thickness that's on this piece, I'd probably do 3 full strands of floss. And so you tie one end of that floss to the hook on your drill, and then you're going to tie the other end, and it can be a hook on a cupboard. I actually have a magnifying lamp over here in the corner, and it has, like, it's a floor lamp, so it has arms on it, and I don't know why, I just find that so handy. So I just tie the other end of the floss, it's not twisted yet, it's just flat, around that lamp, and I just tie that into that. So picture this as flat floss. So you've got your drill on one end, you've got this anchored on the other end, and now you're going to just, it's kind of fun, it looks like you're fishing. You're just going to twist like this. And you're going to twist until it almost starts to kink. And when it starts to kink, you'll kind of see it winding back on itself. So then I bring the two ends together. So one is attached on my hook or my lamp. I bring that other end with the drill up here. And everyone does this differently. Everybody has a different method. And I know you can watch videos on it. But I like to use a little weight in the center. And sometimes I put keys on this weight to make it heavier. And then I help it just twist. And so you're twisting your whole floss that you've wound together tightly, and then by the time you're done, you take it off your drill, you knot one end, you take it off the hook or the lamp, you knot the other end, and then you've got this beautiful piece of twisted cording. There are directions inside of the Kreinik product that tell you how to make several different kinds of cording in several different colors, and it has complete directions, and I don't think they're that costly. So that is a hint for my viewer who wanted to know about cording. And if you have more questions, you know you can always write to me, and I can do a better demonstration for you. So in this video, I was so inspired by the hashtag Sampler September, and I decided, I have a collection of antique samplers. As you know, I've reproduced many of them. Some of them still have not been done yet. But I also design samplers that are more contemporary than the antiques. And so I decided I wanted to try to post on Instagram a different sampler in my collection, or one that I've designed, every day of September. And it's been fun because I actually came up with a list of 30 different pieces that I could post, so I have been posting those every day. And just a brief history of whether it's charted or not and what year it was stitched. So I thought today I would share with you 6 or 7 samplers that are in my antique collection, some which have been charted, some which are going to be charted, and then I'm going to share with you 3 samplers that I've designed that are more contemporary in feeling. So I thought you might enjoy that for this month. So the first one I want to share with you, which I have charted, it has not been published yet, and I've shown this to you before. It's a beautiful old sampler from 1787, which is, it's very hard to see, but it's right in here. It was stitched by a girl named Jane Forbes. And as I say, I've charted this. I've actually started stitching it, and I will show, I've started stitching the model of it. And the colors in here are just beautiful. They are, I'm using 3 classic color works. Let's see, Garden Trellis, Tartan Plaid, and Deep Fennel. And I'm also using an Aztec red for the red in the piece. So I think it's going to be quite beautiful when it's done, and I've chosen a beautiful R&R linen, a 36 count linen, to work it on. So I'm about maybe a quarter of the way through stitching this, but I think it will be fascinating. Now the verse on her Jane sampler is very interesting. Let's see. I should have looked at this again ahead of time. 1787. I might have to tell it to you now. Oh, here we go. So it is very hard to read. When I am dead, and in my grave, and that's spelled Grve, and all my bones are rotten. Now, this sounds so kind of spooky, but that verse is very typical. I've read in my sampler books for the age of this sampler. When this you see, remember me, that I may not forgotten. She didn't, that I may not be forgotten. So we're not going to forget Jane Forbes. We're definitely going to remember her and honor her by reproducing her wonderful piece. So that was one of the designs I wanted to share with you. The next one is another one that is very, very old in my collection. And this, I will have to be careful with the light here. This was also done in the 1700s, which to me is just incredible to think about this, that we actually still have these pieces. This was done in 1796 by Mary Wilson. I actually charted this piece and published it, but it was done a very long time ago. And I want to look through, I've got a pile here of things to show you. Here it is. So it's out of print right now. So I called it Miss Mary's Sampler 1796, and I charted it with the colors that she used in her piece, which interestingly enough are very, very similar. She doesn't have the red in it, but she has the aqua blues and then a gold. So I had charted it, I had published it, and now it's out of print. But I am thinking about, and it will depend on interest, about adding that to a new collection that I do next year of more of the samplers in my collection that have not been published. So that's a possibility. What else can I tell you about her sampler? Let's look here. So I wrote quite a long history actually. I never was able to locate Mary Wilson. Actually, she was age 20 when she stitched this, which is older than many of our sampler girls. But she did not have a city or a state on this piece. I bought this from an antique dealer who's a friend of mine in Kalamazoo. I do believe it is American, but Mary Wilson is such a common name, I was not able to find her. And so I don't know a lot about her family. So the next one I'm going to show you is one you've probably seen before, but I had an interesting thing occur this week in regards to this sampler. I called this the Abingdon sampler because it was stitched in 1878 in Abingdon. And it actually, let me hold this up for another minute here. I love this. I love the borders in it. I love the little alphabets. It's such a great red and white sampler. It was stitched March 25th, but we do not know the name of the girl who stitched it. So when I was researching this piece, I kind of was trying to guess, was it Abingdon in England, Scotland, America? I didn't know. So this week I got a call from someone out in California. And Cheryl said to me, I'll show you which book that appears in a minute. She said to me, I am stitching the Abingdon sampler. And the reason it was so important to her is that she actually had she does a lot of genealogy. She had a relative who was named Patsy Martha Collins, who died in Abingdon, Virginia, probably earlier than this sampler. But what that kind of confirmed to me, in a way, not really, of course, but that Abingdon, Virginia could very well have been where this sampler came from. And the sampler was originally published, and this is a booklet that I still have available, in a collection of antique red samplers that I published, oh gosh, I think it was 2 years ago. And it includes 5 red samplers that are in my collection. So here is the Abingdon sampler right here. But anyhow, I thought that was kind of interesting. She was so excited about stitching this sampler, and she asked me how she wanted to put her relative's name, Patsy Collins, below the Abingdon, and so I talked to her about how to space that out, and she's working on that right now, and I thought that was such a nice tribute. I love how people take time to find a sampler that they like, or any design actually, and make it their own. It doesn't bother me that you change it. I love the fact that you're stitching it and you need to make it something that's special for yourself. So the next one I'm going to show you is, I'm trying to find, I've got things every which way here, so I didn't have to reach too far. So this is a piece that came out in March, and this was the original sampler. It's very, very simple. It was done by Ada Roper, and it is 1894, so these are, the last couple I'm showing you are all about the same era. It was done on a very coarse homespun linen in red floss. We do not know where Ada Roper was from, but I loved her piece so much that I ended stitching it as a hornbook. So you know that many of the girls made their alphabet samplers as marking samplers to learn their alphabet and to learn how to stitch. And so I stitched hers to make it small and petite over one on a 32 count fabric. And I'm trying to think of the linen. It was flax. Flax was the linen. And it has been published as a kit. So the kit, it looks like this. Excuse the rattling. And it includes the linen, the floss, and the wooden hornbook. And if you hadn't seen this before and are interested in it, just contact a shop in your area or region. And if you are unable to find anything that I'm showing you today, you can always write to me and ask me about it. So the next one I want to show you is, I have several here that are quite large, so if you see me wince a bit as I'm picking it up, you'll know it was because of my volleyball injury. So this one is, I thought, very, very interesting. All right. So I'll try not to get a glare on this. This was stitched in 1879, and the girl's name was Saboa Emming Browning. And it has such beautiful elements in here. I loved the reindeer. I loved the alphabets at the top. She used little dogs and crowns. I actually purchased this from my friend here in Kalamazoo, who is an antique dealer. He found it out east. Now this particular design, I did not reproduce exactly as it was stitched. I did an adaptation of it, and now I'm kind of rethinking it, thinking maybe I should do a true reproduction. And I don't know how many of you are following Sampler September, but there are two hashtags. One is September Sampler Soiree, and that is for samplers which were reproduced exactly from the original. But there's also a hashtag called Sampler September, which is about samplers which I have done with this one, which have done an adaptation of the original. So let me show you what my adaptation was. Let's see, where can I set this? Right here. So the adaptation that I did, I called Peace at Christmastide. And you can see I changed the colors. Oh, let's see, it's going to be a little hard to see. I should have pulled the model out for you to see it up close. But I used the reindeer. I used many of the floral motifs that were in this piece, the crowns. But then I inserted a Christmas phrase that says, "May peace be your gift at Christmas and your blessing all year through." So that was done quite a while ago. I still have a few copies left, not a lot, but that was an adaptation of an existing antique sampler. So you'll have to give me feedback on that one and what you think. All right, the next one that I want to share with you is, I also got an email about this. No, I got a message about this. So I posted this sampler on Instagram. I think it might have been the first 1 or 2 days of Sampler September. And I researched this sampler. All right, this one is even heavier. Let me get it in a good spot so I can balance it for, I might have to lean it on my shoulder. So this one I absolutely loved. I bought it quite a while ago. It is French. It is quite faded. It actually, the red, there's also a pale green along with the red that is used in this sampler. All right, I need to set this down. This is very uncomfortable. All right, let's put it down like this. So it was stitched by M. Ballard in a city in France. I'll lift that up. And I know I'm going to mispronounce it. You know that my French is not very accurate. It's Romagnac, Romagnac. And when I did this sampler, I'm going to set it on the floor. It's very hard to talk to you and hold on to it. So I did a lot of research on this sampler. I researched the city where it was from. I found out, I actually posted this, I think, on a blog years ago, that I was looking for a family with that name, and someone wrote to me that many years ago and said, oh, that's a very common name in our region. But I was never able to locate the exact person that did this piece. It was done in 1914. So with this particular piece, I also did an adaptation. Now, I pretty much stuck to everything that she had done. The border is accurate. The letters, most of the letters are accurate. But in this original one, I'm going to lift it up again so I can show you what I'm talking about. Not all of the letters of the alphabet, of course, are in this sampler. And there was kind of a strange combination of letters along the bottom. So what I did, excuse me for that awkward move, in this particular piece, so I show you the original. I charted the whole alphabet based on the letters that she had done before, and then I also charted right there the letters that are similar to the alphabet font that she used along the bottom of the piece. So I call this the French alphabet sampler. I have the stitch piece on my wall over there. I love this piece. I love the colors. I love the border. Actually, I saw somebody post one the other day very similar to this, and I was so excited to see another version of it. So that was the French alphabet sampler. And let's see, I've got one more to show you of my collection. And this is another one that has not been published. I bought this quite a while ago at an antique mall over in Saugatuck, Michigan. The interesting thing about this piece is it's worked on perforated paper. And the date on it is 1882. And I want to read to you the name of the person who worked it and what her little phrase was at the bottom of the piece, because I've always thought this was quite charming. So the woman who worked this, or the girl, was Gracie Alvina Erickson, who was born on July 30th in Leland, Illinois. Now, she does not give a date. Oh, no, wait. She did have a date. It's 1882. This piece actually was in such bad condition, someone had actually cut part of it apart. And I had to kind of reconfigure it when we framed it. You can see there's a cut mark right here, and there's another here. So July 30th, 1882. And I need to research her again, because now I'm better, I think, at doing research on ancestry on some of these older pieces. But this is what she stitched at the bottom. May you live to see your great grandchildren, which I thought was such a wonderful sentiment. And then she has this tiny little wreath down here. So who knows, that may appear in a booklet in the future if I think that it fits in with the whole theme of all the booklets. Alrighty, so that's the end of my antique sampler portion of this. Now I'm going to show you just 3 samplers that I have designed myself that I consider to be, they have the flavor of the antique because they use antique alphabets, but then I have kind of designed them just to look like they might be antiques, but they're actually not. They're original designs. So the first one I want to show you is called the Birds and Berries alphabet. And as I say, there are elements in this from many antique samplers. This little bow right here, the birds, the alphabet, and definitely the border. This was stitched on, let's see, let me double check the fabric. This was stitched on a 28 count Irish cream linen from R&R, and it was stitched in ribbon red. So that's Birds and Berries. And it certainly has the flavor of the antiques and would look nice on a wall next to some of the others that I've shown to you that are red and white samplers. I don't know why I had such a fondness for those for quite a while. So here's the Birds and Berries booklet. I still love red and white samplers, and I would buy another if I found another one. So the next sampler that I want to show you is called Floral Alphabet. And this too, all of the letters in this piece have been taken from antique samplers. I tried to find letters that fit the category of being floral, and that was so much fun to do, letters that had a wonderful, graceful look to them. This was stitched, let me double check here, on a 32 count antique ivory linen. And this is what the booklet looks like. And it was stitched, I believe, let's look at the color. It was stitched in House Wine by Classic Colorworks. And actually the frame is a Classic Colorworks frame. They have a division of their business called Family Tree Frames, and I just love the pieces they do. And I've seen this stitched in on other fabrics in other colors, and it can be just stunning. So that's not an antique, but a more up-to-date version that could look nice, actually, I think, on a wall of antique samplers. And then the last one I have to show you is called Floral Alphabet 2. And I actually did this. The colors on this are very tricky to see. I've actually done several versions of this piece. And let me tell you about those. So this is what the booklet looks like. Let's see if I can open it up. So here is the picture of the piece that I'm showing you that's in the center of the booklet. And this was stitched on a raw linen, this version, and with a number of DMC and hand-dyed colors. But I also stitched it, as you can see on the cover, on platinum linen, a 32 count platinum. Let me show you that up close. And this too was another version with many, do I have it upright? Yes, I do. I had to look under. I see little threads on it. So it starts up here with an A, and each of the letters are unique, and each are from different alphabets. So those are my 3 I would say more current versions of antique samplers, and I hope you enjoyed that presentation today. It was kind of fun to put together for you. So I want to thank a couple of people real quickly who have just been so supportive of my channel and of my designs. And I think I've mentioned them before. There are 3 gals that started a JBW hashtag JBW ornament stitch along, and I'll put that below. And it was supposed to be just for August, and they're having so much fun with it, they've extended it into September. And they've been taking ornaments from any one of my ornament collection booklets, which I forgot to bring to show you, and posting them on Instagram. So the 3 who are doing this stitch along are Chrissy from Finally a Farm Girl, who has her own YouTube videos channel, and she also designs, so please check Chrissy out. She's just darling. And then also Stitchy Linda, who does not have a YouTube video, but she is on Instagram under Stitchy Linda, and she posts very regularly. She lives down in Florida near Brick City Cross Stitch Shop, so she posts a lot. And then also Annie of the Proper Stitcher. And I have to tell you, you have to watch Annie's last video, which she just did a day or so ago. She finished 2 of my Christmas designs. She's finished Christmas bells and Christmas in the round. And her finishes are just wonderful. I encourage you to go and look at them. She gives very careful instructions on how she assembled them. They were mounted on wood boards that were from Stitch, etc., and I'll put their name below too. Just check them out. They're just really nice. So, a couple things for you to remember. Thank you for watching today. My website is jbwdesigns.com, and I do have a shop on the website where I sell patterns. I also have a page called Friends of JBW Designs on Facebook, and I usually try to post a contest every few weeks. And then thirdly, my Instagram address is judy.whitman. Let's see, and if you need to contact me, please use email. I get messages, but for some reason those don't come through as regularly. Email I respond to every day, and my email is judy@jbwdesigns.com. So I have a couple prize winners today. And so if you're watching and you hear your name announced, just email me your address, and you may choose any of the patterns that I've shown you today. And my prize winners today are Chrissy B, CHRISSIE, B as in boy, Susan Wid, WID, and Catherine Moss. So thank you for watching and commenting on the last video, and I'll probably do the same thing next time. If people make comments, I like to choose a couple of winners from those who have taken the time to tell me about what they liked or maybe needed to know about each video I make. So I have a quotation for the day, and I like this one. I always try to think of something that maybe gives you a little lift. To make a difference in someone's life, you don't have to be brilliant, rich, beautiful, or perfect. You just have to care. And I think that's so true, especially in our world today. So ladies and gentlemen, if there are any gentlemen watching, please have a great week. I hope you have lots of time to stitch. And thank you again. I appreciate everything you do. Bye-bye.